Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I am Austin Ward. That is Jeremy Birmingham. This is a rapid reaction. It is brought to you by Buyers Auto. Another transfer portal edition on the way for the Buckeyes. We're going to talk about it right now. All right, Berm, the Buckeyes staying busy with this offseason. The Rose Bowl just a couple days in the rearview mirror. We already talked a few weeks ago about Diamante Traynham coming in to help at linebacker, and now Ohio State and new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles have reached back to Oklahoma State, and Tanner McCalister will be joining this show again, just as we did a few weeks ago. This will be the second time that happened with the transfer portal, and the second time that the Buckeyes had brought in a little veteran help here as part of the reload on defense.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about how often this may happen as we move forward in college football because of the virtual or de facto free agency that's been created, where players who really like to play for one coach see an opportunity to follow that coach when he goes somewhere else. And Jim Knowles clearly is a guy that connects well with his players, and I'm excited to get an opportunity to talk to Tanner a little bit about that because he knows way more about Coach Knowles than we do at this point. So it's exciting to figure out what Ohio State's getting from his perspective, but also from what Ohio State's getting in Tanner McCalister is a defensive back that maybe even 3 weeks ago wasn't as big of a need as it is now when you lose Lathan Ransom for the spring, and a safety that was extremely productive inside of the Big 12. I believe he was number 2 in like positive defensive plays or something of all defensive backs in the Big 12 last year. However you rank that, I don't know, but I know that he was very highly ranked, and a player from the Dallas area who played against great high school competition, has become a really successful college defensive back. And that's what you need. I mean, Ohio State needs to have depth. They passed up on a couple guys in the transfer portal already, and they've taken a look around the country and thought about maybe adding someone else to the recruiting class. But as Ryan Day has talked about over and over, they're looking for fit, and Tanner McCalister is certainly a good fit.
Yeah, I know that this has been a very popular topic in looking at the safety position, and not everybody agrees with me, or maybe you don't have to be lumped in with me, but the safety position here was really going into the Rose Bowl and before what happened, very unfortunate for Lathan Ransom and that leg injury. We'll see exactly how long that takes for him to put the air cast on the cart right away. That looked like a broken leg, very similar to what happened to Josh Proctor. Well, that then puts 2 players who are going to be key to Ohio State's top line defense coming off of significant leg injuries. So that obviously changes the equation a little bit. But this was situation with Tanner McCalister was already in the works beforehand. So that tells you that Jim Knowles and Ryan Day, when they looked at this, there was a lot of advantages to somebody who knows that system already, has played Power 5 football for 4 years at a pretty decent level. This was one of the best defenses in the country that the Cowboys had a year ago. That's why Jim Knowles was hired, and Tanner McCalister was obviously a big part of that. So you see that standing out. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that he comes in right away and is a starter. I think that Josh Proctor is trending towards getting back, doing some things in spring. You're going to have Ronnie Hickman back there. You have Bryson Shaw with more experience coming off of last season, and then Court Williams, who had a really strong Rose Bowl, not to mention a solid class of freshmen, and they were really doing some good stuff, whether that was in training camp or even Rose Bowl practice. So I still believe, even with Tanner McCalister coming in, that Ohio State didn't have to make this move, but it certainly views it as a bonus.
I think it views it as a bonus, and it's comfort for Tanner McCalister and Jim Knowles, and I think that's important because, obviously it's Ryan Day's team, but it is going to be Jim Knowles' defense. And if he has a guy in the back end that can help teach it, then that's certainly a plus for him and for Ohio State. So with that, I think we should bring Tanner on, and let's get an idea of exactly who he is and why he's the right fit for Ohio State.
All right, we're joined by Tanner McCalister, proven all Big 12 safety, knows Jim Knowles quite well. He's going to use one more season of eligibility and come play at Ohio State. Tanner, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the decision and next move. And what went into it? Why do you want to stick around? You could have easily been an NFL player, I think, this spring, but you decided to make this move to join the Buckeyes.
Right. For me, it was the beginning of it was all about relationships. I think Coach Jim Knowles, the players at Ohio State are gonna begin to, realize that he's a player's coach. He's a coach that, although he's gonna yell at you and he's gonna do everything coaches are supposed to do, but once you get to know him, you know that he's only doing it because he wants what's best for you. And I think what's best for me is coming back to college. This draft class is going to be kind of hectic with COVID happening and a lot of guys being able to come back. So I think for me personally, the best thing I could do is come back to college for one more year and continue to work on my game, continue to work on my craft. Maybe put some more things on tape, and hopefully win a national championship. Bring a national championship to Columbus. But I think with Knowles getting the job at Ohio State, he's been my coach every year I've been at Oklahoma State. So, our relationship is really good. He knows what I can do. I know what he likes to do as a coach. So I think me coming to Ohio State along with him, is going to bring some experience to that defense. Guys aren't going to really know what they're doing in the beginning, and I can help, build that relationship with Coach Knowles and also help other guys figure out the defense. So I think for me personally, it was just about relationships and me developing for one more year.
Tanner, can you speak a little bit about how unusual that is? And I mean, you're the guy that knows the coach, you're the guy that knows the defense, but you don't know where the locker room is, and you don't know. You've never visited Ohio State. I mean, it's obviously a very unique situation. How hard was it to just come to terms with this choice, even though you haven't had a chance to even visit the school yet?
Right. It was a really hard decision. When I was going through, my mind just trying to make the decision, everything was unknown. I've never been to Columbus, never been to Ohio. So things like that, you think about as a player, coming out of high school, you get to do your visits and your official visits and all that. But with the dead week, with the dead period, I wasn't able to do that. So really my decision was hard. But like I said before, my decision was made off of relationships. I have really great relationships at Oklahoma State. Being at Oklahoma State, I've been able to learn from a lot of great coaches, learn from a lot of great players. But making this move, I have 1 year left. I want to make the most of this one last year. I didn't want any regrets, or I didn't want to, make any decisions out of fear. I have a spot at Oklahoma State. I could go to Ohio State and not have one. I didn't want to make any decisions out of fear. So I decided to, make this move, and I think it's going to be in my best interest. But not being up there, I'm just going to have to make some adjustments. I'm used to adjusting, but it's going to be a big adjustment moving to a new state, a new city, and like you said, new locker room, new players, all of that. But I think it'll be a fun adjustment for this last year, and I'm looking forward to making the most out of it.
Tanner, when you look at what Coach Knowles did at Oklahoma State, not just with you, but that entire group, what is Ohio State getting in a Jim Knowles defense?
Right. I think guys are gonna, like I said earlier, guys are gonna realize that Coach Knowles is a player's coach. He wants what's best for each of the players on the team. So he's gonna put us in situations that he feels are gonna bring the most success for us as a defense. So being at Oklahoma State with him, at the beginning I was like, man, who's this guy yelling at me every day, talking crazy. But as time went on, I realized, man, he really wants what's best for me. And you saw our defense from the first year he was there to obviously his last year. We ended up being, I think, a top 2 or top 3 defense in the nation. So it may take time, may not take time, but I will say that Ohio State's getting a player's coach. He's getting a coach. They're getting a coach that every player on that defense is going to want to play for, and I think that's why his defenses do so well.
I guess one of the things I'm interested in, you talk about all the adjustments you're going to have to make. I know that you're familiar with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who played at your rival high school of you. He played at Rockwall, you played at Heath. And what did how many other guys on that roster do you know? Have you had conversations with? And what type of adjustment period do you think there is? I mean, it's different now. You're not an 18-year-old guy coming out of high school who doesn't have confidence in what you can do. I mean, obviously you know who you are. But how much of an impact do you think that makes on a guy heading into a new program?
Right. I mean, me and Jackson, we kind of grew up together, in that Rockport area. Since we were about 6 or 7, we played on the same little league team. Middle school, went to the same, middle schools in that area, and he went to Rockwall. I went to Rockwall. He went to rival high schools, and I had the opportunity to play him twice. I got an interception against him. He'll tell you all that, but. Jackson's my guy. His older brother, Kanan, who's, he plays in the MLB, those guys are like family to me. Me and his parents, my parents and his parents know each other. They're close. So that's like family. So having family up there is a really big deal for me. During my whole process, he was in my ear like, man, please come. Like, he was in my ear the whole process. So I mean, obviously he had a influence on it. He had a hell of a year, and I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him to see him shine. I think going against him in practice is gonna be fun as well. But obviously Jackson had an impact on my decision, and having family up there, I think will make my transition a little easier. So I'm excited for that as well.
Well, everybody, you heard it here first. So Ohio State is getting somebody who can shut down Jackson Smith-Njigba. So that's good stuff. He was actually talking about you last week at the Rose Bowl. So there's a lot of excitement, I know, from the Ohio State end to add to this and see what you can do for the defense. Looking forward to having you up here, Tanner. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, Berm, the newest member of the Ohio State secondary. I know that Ryan Day and members of the coaching staff last week were asking Jackson a little bit about what kind of guy Tanner McCalister was. I know that can go a long way, help push it over the top. Ohio State getting a little bonus there in the secondary and a little bit of familiarity, one teammate that he knows well, and obviously one coach that he knows very well.
Yeah, and this is what you need in college football in today's new era. And Ryan Day, again, had talked about it all throughout December. The Buckeyes are not going to go heavy in the transfer portal, but they're going to look for guys that can fill a spot here or there and that can help. This is not a situation where they expect Tanner McCalister to come in and be a guaranteed starter or anything like that. But that sort of experience and the knowledge of Jim Knowles' defense, and knowing that Josh Proctor's coming back from the leg injury, now knowing Lathan Ransom's out with the leg injury, knowing that you're still trying to rotate Cam Martinez and get him to figure out that deep safety position, knowing that you're trying to move around a lot of parts. You have the spots, you may as well use them. And Tanner McCalister, if this is our first conversation with the guy, it's hard not to be impressed.
Yep, you're hearing a little bit about why Jackson Smith-Njigba spoke so highly of him, known him for a long time. They will be joining forces for Ohio State, trying to win a national championship next year. The offseason well underway, a couple transfer portal additions already in the fold for the Buckeyes, and already having joined Rapid Reaction, which is brought to you by Buyers Auto. We appreciate Tanner McCalister for his time. Enjoy him, give him the best of luck as he heads up to Columbus. For Berm, I am Austin. Stay with us for full coverage of Ohio State 365 days a year at lettermenrow.com.